Okay, hi Cottage Lane and all of the students out there from WADA. We are excited today to have Penny Heyns here to talk to us, and I want to introduce Stacy from the World Anti-Doping Agency, who is going to do some introductions. For Cottage Lane, we have Mr. Eckert here. So wave Mr. Eckert. He's going to be asking some questions on behalf of Cottage Lane. So here you go, Stacy. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining today's Athlete Chat. As Karen mentioned, my name is Stacy Spletzer. I work for the World Anti-Doping Agency in Athlete Relations. For those of you that have never heard of the World Anti-Doping Agency, or WADA, the goal of WADA is to have a world where all athletes can compete free of doping and in a fair environment, and where they're promoting our tagline, which is Play True. So I am happy to have the director of our African office joining us today, Rodney Swigler. Rodney's going to be our moderator through the event, and he is joined by his two sweet daughters, Lara and Chloe. And I forgot to mention my daughter, Margaret, who's 10. Sorry, Margaret. And I'm really pumped to have Penny Heyns also joining as our athlete today. So thank you so much for your time, Penny. Penny's a 3-time Olympian in the sport of swimming, and she is the only woman that I know of that won both the 100 and 200 meter breaststroke at the Olympic Games. So Penny is joining us also from South Africa, and we'll hand it over to her now. Thanks, Penny.
Thanks, Stacy. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of this. It's really exciting. I think it's a great initiative that you guys have taken to interact like this and to make it available to the youngsters of today. I know it's a difficult time for everybody right now being in lockdown. So as Stacy said, I'm a swimmer, retired swimmer. I am originally from South Africa. I swam in the United States for the University of Lincoln, Nebraska. And later on, I moved to Calgary, Canada, where I continued swimming. And I competed in Barcelona, in Atlanta, and in Sydney 2000. Barcelona didn't go too well, but it was a big learning curve. And then in 1996 in Atlanta, I won the 100 and 200 breaststroke with a world record and Olympic record. And then had a bit of a downturn for a year or two, then moved to Calgary, and my swimming improved again. And I managed to set a whole string of world records there in 99, leading into the 2000 Olympics, which was okay. I got a bronze there. And then after that, I retired. So, and then after retirement, I moved back to South Africa. So since retirement, I've been involved with swimming still in terms of FINA, which is the governing body of world swimming. I'm the chair of the athletes committee. I'm on the bureau, which is the top structure of FINA. And then in the beginning of 2019, I was very honored to be invited to be part of the World Anti-Doping Agency on their compliance review committee as the athlete representative. So that's been a very exciting journey. And again, as I said, I was very privileged to be a part of all of this. And I hope that some of the answers I give tonight, as you guys listen, would shed some light on what it takes to get to the level where you achieve your dreams, how to stay there. And basically, I just hope I motivate you guys. Thanks for the opportunity.
Hi, Penny, Rodney. Of course, we're very happy to have you with us. You're an icon here in South Africa. You're an icon in Africa. You're an icon in the world. And thank you very much for what you are doing for the sport, what you are doing for the youngsters out there that aspires to emulate and do the kind of things that you were able to do for us. We received quite a few questions from youngsters all over, and the first one is from a South African, Jada in a small town called Oudtshoorn, and she wants to know how she can stay motivated during this period of lockdown, the eating habits, making sure that snacking is now the order of the day. What message can you send out for youngsters like Jada and others that's going through the same issues right now?
Thanks, Rodney. Thanks for the question. So I actually met Jada, I think about 3 years ago at a swim clinic that I was presenting. So Jada, I got your note, I got your letter, and I understand that right now is a frustrating time, especially for girls as they going through their teenage years. I want to encourage you though to just stay in the water, don't give up. All of us go through ups and downs in our careers. And the most challenging thing that I think, as you mentioned, you're facing, and I'm facing the same thing right now, is that we're bored, we're sitting at home, and all we want to do is eat and have snacks. But really, when it comes to a diet as an athlete, the science behind it has changed a lot since the days when I was competing. When I swam, we were told we've got to carb load and you know, the pastas and then the breads, that was high on the list. But today we know that you got to cut down on the carbs. And I firmly agree with the, you know, with the opinions of rather eating more protein, higher fat content, and really cutting down on the carbs and the sugars. So if it comes to diet, that's what I would propose. And just be wise about your food choices. It's not always easy, but that's what a top athlete is about. It's about making the sacrifices and being strict in several areas of your life and your life choices, and obviously diet would be one of them. I hope that answers some of the questions.
Thanks, Penny. Let's stay on the topic of food. We have Lux, Logan, and London in New York City. Hi, guys. They want to find out what was your favorite meal before a big competition or a big race?
As I just said, probably not the right meal according to today's science, but I did eat a lot of pasta. I liked, I think, chicken dishes. I can't, to be honest, really recall exactly what. I wouldn't stick to a specific meal prior to a swim meet, because if you were traveling, you were basically, you needed to eat whatever they were providing at the hotel. But it was some meat and the pastas mostly, and lots of coffee.
Yeah. Thanks, Penny. Chloe has a question for you.
Yes, Chloe?
How did it feel to win 2 gold medals for South Africa?
Thanks for the question, Chloe. You know, as your dad would have told you, South Africa was not allowed to go to the Olympics for about 32 years. So when I grew up, I never had the Olympic dream. And so I really had no expectation around winning Olympic medals. I merely swam because I wanted to be able to say I did the best I could with the talent I was born with. And along the way, I improved. And so I ended up going to the Atlanta Olympic Games as the world record holder. And so there was this expectation that if I swam my best swim, then I maybe get a medal, and if I'm really lucky, maybe win the event. In the morning of the 100 breast, I broke the world record again in the heats, and that meant in the evening there was a good chance I would win. As it turned out, in the evening, this is now the first gold medal, I touched the wall, but my time was slower than the time I had swum in the morning. And so I had mixed feelings. On the one hand, I was very happy and relieved that I'd won the gold medal, but on the other hand, I was a bit disappointed that my time was not faster than the morning. And then a few days later was the 200 breaststroke. It was not my main event. To be honest, a week before the Olympics, it hadn't even crossed my mind that I would even medal in the 200. But after realizing that I had a lot of speed compared to everyone else, I knew there was a good chance I could medal. And so my strategy was go all out and hope that no one catches me. And fortunately for me, no one caught me. And so I suppose the second gold medal was maybe the one I enjoyed more because the pressure was off now. As far as winning and standing on the podium, I remember standing there receiving the gold medal for the 100 breaststroke, listening to the anthem, not really knowing what to think or feel. And if I'm really honest, my thoughts were on, I was actually feeling sorry for the girl who got the bronze medal, Samantha Riley from Australia, because she was the former world record holder, and I had honestly believed that either she would win or I would win. And so when she only got a bronze medal, I kind of felt sorry for her. So mixed feelings, no straight answer.
Hi, Penny. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's an honor to have you talking to our students and all of these young athletes around the world. So we were wondering, what was your proudest moment as an athlete competing for South Africa, or maybe if it was at another games, what was your proudest moment?
That's not an easy question to answer. There were various highlights in my career, so it's difficult to say. I want to say it was standing on the podium at the Olympics, and possibly maybe it was receiving the second gold medal, which was for the 200. Because at the time, I didn't know the statistics that no one else had won the 100 and 200. I only found that out after the race, so it was a big moment for me. But at the same time, when you're an athlete and you're young, you're just going through the motions. So in hindsight, I can't pick a specific moment. There were definitely highlights, like interacting with people like former President Nelson Mandela and getting personal phone calls to say well done, etc. like that. That was highlights. And I think it was just overall very humbling and blessed to be able to compete at that level and to achieve what I did.
Thank you. Can you also talk to us about your training? I see some of the questions coming up in the chat now, and this is actually even a question in my own home with some swimmers is,
Okay.
Under the lockdown, people aren't able to go to swim at their pools and they're not able to train. So what advice can you give about your training, and what advice can you give to maybe swimmers that are at home and can't get to the pool right now?
Okay, I'm glad you asked the question, because this is really something, sort of a passion of mine, and it's got to do with your mind, your brain, and how it works. And not to be too technical, I'll just simplify, but your brain forms connections whenever you do something. And what most people don't realize is even when you just have a thought, you're forming these connections, these pathways in your brain. So if we want to call it brain muscles, so to speak. And what people don't realize is the value of visualization. And when you visualize or picture yourself swimming your race, and you really focus on all the various details throughout, your brain doesn't know the difference between when you're just imagining it and when you're physically doing it. So you're stuck at home right now. You don't have the opportunity to physically go out and train. But this is a great time for you to now go and maybe Google the best swimmers, look at the technique, pay attention to the details that they are doing, the things they're doing that's making them great, and then go and take the time to visualize yourself doing the same things. You could do a lot of swimming in the mirror. So you stand in front of the mirror and you practice your technique and look at yourself. And so that's something I did, even without knowing the science behind it. I did these things while I was a swimmer. I did a lot of visualization. I did a lot of swimming breaststroke technique, sort of looking at myself in the mirror, where's my hand position, my head lunge position, all of that stuff. And when I teach kids now and work on technique, I strongly recommend that they do this. So yes, we can't get fit cardiovascularly, but you can definitely train your brain in this time. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what matters most.
Awesome. Thank you. Some students are asking on the side here, I'm looking at the chat, and there's a lot of people that are asking why you chose swimming as your sport, or what got you into swimming in terms of being an athlete.
Okay. Depends how long an answer you want. The short and sweet of it is that I grew up along the coast, and as such, you learn to swim at a very young age. And around the age of 7, I heard someone say I had talent. And I attended Sunday school, and I remember hearing a story about the manager who gives each of the 3 workers talents, which is like money. But basically, it's the word talent stuck in my mind. As the story goes, the first and second guy, they worked the talent, they multiplied the talent. The third guy hid his talent, he did nothing with his talent, and so he got reprimanded. And so basically, I went home thinking, I don't want to stand before my maker someday and hear, why did you not use the talent I gave you? And so the reason I swam, and this was the golden thread throughout my career, right up until the day I retired, the reason I swam is because I wanted to be able to look back and know I did the best I could with the talent I'd been given. Now, that didn't mean I didn't have other sporting interests and other areas where I was probably also talented in, but it seemed to me that the clear winner was my ability to swim breaststroke really well, and so that's why I did that.
Thank you so much. There's another question that came in from a student. They're wondering what's the longest, I think, sustained distance you've ever swam.
Keeping in mind I'm a breaststroker, that means we swim a 50-meter, 100-meter, and a 200-meter. It would have to be what I did in training, and that would, then typically we train between 6 to 7 Ks. I did swim some open water swims. So I think the longest probably would have been about 3.2 kilometers, and that would have happened in the winter months where I grew up. We didn't have heaters to keep the pool water warm, so we'd have to swim in the ocean because it was a little bit warmer. And we would do this 3.2 kilometer swim every second Saturday, and I was the breaststroker behind all the freestylers. So I swam really fast, hoping not to get the sharks following me. South Africa has a lot of shark attacks, right?
Hi, Penny. Just two issues. People are asking, the young ones are asking about injuries that you have sustained and how you deal with it. And of course, let me also just bring in, being a professional athlete, I take it that there's that injuries, that is a big risk for any professional athlete. And let me then bring in a little bit of the other scourges that we have, such as doping. How does these things impact on the life of a professional athlete?
Okay, I think as far as injuries go, swimming is really one of the better sports. If you were going to look at it that way, the impact on our bodies, the wear and tear is not as bad as most other disciplines. Having said that, there are the typical niggles, the shoulders, and specifically for breaststrokers, it's the knees. I was very fortunate during my career. I never experienced any issues with injuries. After retirement, I have a little bit of lower back pain, but from what I've heard, that's typical of a swimmer maybe later on as you get older. So I didn't have to deal with any injuries, so I can't really answer that. As far as doping goes, unfortunately, the world is looking for a quick fix, and a lot of people compete because they want to hopefully someday win certain accolades, medals, be it world records, whatever it may be. And I always start my inspirational, motivational talks, I start by saying to the audience, whatever you do in life, you need to know why you're doing it, and you have to do it for the right reasons. And your reasons have to go much deeper than just wanting to win some event and earn certain kind of paycheck. So for me personally, I was never approached, or I never had to deal with anything around doping. I actually think maybe I'm a little naive, but in my era, I don't think it was a big deal. But what I wanted to say to the young aspiring athletes is, ultimately, you should be doing whatever sport you're doing to be able to be true to your true potential. So in other words, develop your talent to the best of your ability. And if you manage to achieve X, Y, and Z because you happen to take something along the way, then that's not a true reflection of your talent. And I would really hope that the kids who are taking the time to listen to this today are kids who want to know what they really can produce in the most honest way. And besides the ethical aspect of doping, there's also the aspect of, how bad it is for your health. And so I think a lot of professional athletes maybe today, they are faced with the temptation a little bit more than in my era, because the more money there is in sport, of course, the stakes are a little bit higher. But ultimately, it comes back to, why are you doing what it is that you're doing in life? And it could be, I'm talking sports, I'm talking business, whatever it is. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. I hope that answers some of the questions.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. I see Jen, I don't know, she's from Adelina Sirkova. Hi, Penny. What is your advice to swimmers who cannot swim during this coronavirus pandemic?
So what I would advise is, you can still stay fit outside of the pool. You can do a lot of dryland stuff. But I think specific to swimming, I would encourage you, go and Google, as I said earlier on, the best swimmers. If you're a backstroker, then go and Google, the world record holders. If you're a breaststroker, Google Adam PT or some of those swimmers and look at the technique that they are using. Caleb Dressel, etc. Watch how they're swimming. Today, you're very fortunate to be able to do this on the internet. In my day, we couldn't do that. And learn from them, imitative learning. In other words, you watch the best and then you copy them. That's the most powerful form of learning. And then on top of that, now, after you've done your homework and you've focused on the technique and you've studied the details, then maybe start visualizing yourself doing those same things. This could be a very powerful stage of your preparation as an athlete if you use the time appropriately and you make the most of the opportunity to train your brain.
I wonder if you could take us through your moment on the podium when you actually received a gold medal. Let me see if we can pull it up here. What were some of the feelings that you were having at this moment? And what's kind of like the lasting thing, I guess, that you remember from this?
Okay, that one was the 200 breaststroke. So Amanda Beard from the US is next to me on my right-hand side, on the screen left-hand side, and then the Hungarian Agnes Kovacs got the bronze. 4 years later, Agnes actually won the gold in the 200 in Sydney, and 4 years after that, Amanda won the gold in the 200 in Athens. So that's pretty cool. To be honest, I think at that stage, I don't really recall my feelings on the podium with the 200 too much. I think I enjoyed the moment more probably, and I was more relaxed because the meet was pretty much over. Earlier on in the 100, though, I was a little bit focused on feeling sorry for the bronze medalist. But in this, I just remember also, apart from the podium, I felt very rushed with regards to the march around the pool. Maybe I'm a bit of a nerd and too obedient, but the ushers were showing us to move along because of the tea time. And now today I watch the swimmers and I see them take their time and they're hugging people along the way and they're taking photos and throwing flowers around and doing all of that stuff. Whereas, with my events, I think probably the other two felt like they were also just being rushed around the pool because I was being obedient following the ushers. So, it was a special moment. I think as I grow older, I appreciate it more.
We also heard that that you carried the Olympic torch. Can you talk to us about what that experience was like?
Yeah, that was actually in 2004. They were doing the Olympic torch relay around the world in the lead up to Athens. So it was actually in Cape Town. And I think everybody who carries the torch, you have to run about a kilometer. I'm not sure if it was a kilometer or how far it was. But anyway, for a swimmer, whatever it was too far. So I jogged with the torch, and it was interesting. It was fun. There were lots of crowds along the way in Cape Town. It was a special moment, yeah.
And I also had one question about what your hobbies were, what you enjoyed most about when you were in primary school, similar to the age that our students are right now.
Okay. When I was in primary school, I was very sporty, not just in swimming. So I did track and field. My favorite events were high jump, and in primary school, it still was the 100, 200 sprints. Later on in high school, I preferred the discus and high jump. Apart from that, at primary school, I played field hockey. And I was what we call a junior lifesaver, or in South Africa, I don't know if they refer to it the same way in the rest of the world, but in South Africa, we call it nippers. And that's up until the age, I think, of 14, you're a nipper, and then become a junior lifeguard. And so I did all of that. I did the competitions and I did the life saving. The weekends, you do your duty on the beach, etc. Other than that, I must admit, I can't recall that there were too many hobbies. I think when I was a bit younger than that, I grew up with two younger brothers. And so as such, maybe I was a bit of a tomboy. I remember I spent a lot of time either bodyboarding on the, at the beach in the ocean, or skateboarding. I spent a lot of time on the skateboard. And but then as I got more serious about my swimming, I became more careful about what I was doing.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's Rodney. So I think that's about it. And I just wanted to thank you so much, Penny, for your time today with the kids. You are such a great athlete role model and great ambassador for clean sport. And we're so fortunate to work with you at the World Anti-Doping Agency. I want to thank Mark for his time and for Cottage Lane for being here. And over to Rodney, my colleague, for these final words. Over to you, Rodney.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey. As the World Anti-Doping Agency, I think our primary focus is and will always be the well-being of athletes. Mark mentioned the issue of, or it was Penny that responded to Mark by referring to things like being true to yourself, making sure that you stay focused. I think that is important for us to ensure that athletes can practice their sport of choice in an environment that is free, that is where they can compete, knowing that they are there because of their natural ability and the hard work that they put in, and not because of some substance that somebody gave them to artificially improve whatever. I think our message is very clear that athletes need to know the road to success that Penny outlined, in terms of saying that we need to be true to what we want. We need to be true to how we get and achieve our goals in life. Otherwise, it's not really, you cannot go back and be proud of those achievements if it's not because of your own ability. So our role as WADA is to ensure that you, as young aspiring athletes, kids coming through, want to play sport, perhaps have ambitions to reach the ultimate goal, such as Penny in her professional career. And we want to make sure have the knowledge and the informed decisions of what happens to you personally and what happens to your career, and at the end of the day, so that you can then stand out and proudly state that you did this because you stayed true to yourself. So thank you very much, Penny, Mark, all the others in New York. Stacey, thank you. It was great.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, guys. It was fun. Stay healthy.
Keep in touch.
Will do. Thanks.
Bye, Rodney.
Cheers.